from Genesee Community College, and I'd like to share with you a few tips today, mostly related to our patient name bands, but I have a bonus tip for you afterwards about how we use our IVs here at Genesee Community College. The first thing that we did is use the typical patient name bands that you would find in the hospital, the ones with the little tabs that you would close up, and it's pretty much secured regardless of whether or not you want to take it off the patient. So that was a good idea, but they are not very reusable. So from there we moved on to adding Velcro to them, which is handy because then when that mannequin is no longer that particular patient, you just pull the Velcro off and you can recycle the name bands every semester. Now the thing that we did find with that is that the Velcro would eventually start coming off the backs of the name bands, so that was a little bit of a problem. So, after much thought and looking at some of the toys that my children had, I decided that a really good idea would be using these, they're called snap bracelets. I found some white ones at Oriental Trading online, so those just snap onto the patient like that, and then when you're not using that patient anymore, you just straighten it out, put it in your folder or your bin to go with those patient supplies, and it works out really well. We even now have them labeled for fall risks or DNRs or whatever the issue with your particular patient is at the time. So that's one part of what I wanted to share with you today. The other part is how we make our patient name bands a little bit more realistic, because we have included barcoding in with our patient names. So it in addition to having the patient name on the wristband, we also have a barcode. Our students all are required to have an iPod Touch or an iPhone or a smartphone so that they can have their Skyscape and other nursing resource apps on their devices where they can retrieve information right away. But the other cool thing is that you can also download some free barcode scanning apps that could be used to facilitate the realism of having your patients barcoded. So the way that I put the patient information onto the SLAP wristbands was by making labels with Microsoft Office. I used one of the Avery templates for the standard labels. It includes the patient's name, room number, bed number, date of birth, allergies, physician. But then I also inserted the barcodes. The barcodes can be produced a couple of different ways, depending on how many you're making. If you have lots of different patients, you might want to go ahead and purchase barcode producing software, which is a little bit expensive. But there's also free barcode producing websites that you can make a QR code and then cut and paste that image that they produce for you and import it into your template, and then you can print out a sheet of patient labels, put one on your SLAP wristband as well as onto the pages of your medical record. This is barcodesinc.com, and I chose to create a QR barcode, and what I can do is copy this image and open up Word, and then I can paste it, and when I take my barcode reader, it says, this is one of our patients, James Story, and as you can see on his wrist, he has our barcodes. I'll just pull up my scanning app on my iPhone. And I also have his medical record here. Then what I do is look at my history, and then I can see that the same ID and patient name have been scanned twice. Now the other little nifty trick that we'd like to share with you today is how we do IV solution drainage system. This system is incredibly easy and very inexpensive. All that you would need for each patient is one used secondary tubing, which you put into a used empty IV bag. I find that the 1,000 milliliter ones are better because you can hold a lot of fluid before you have an explosion underneath the patient's pillow. And then we also have a typical 6-inch extension tubing with the needleless system cap or whatever type of cap you do. So basically a saline lock. Now, the problem is that these two ends don't stick together. So the solution is this double female lure adapter. So that you just screw on the IV tubing, which is going to go into your drainage bag that you put underneath your pillow, and you screw on the extension tubing. And this is a leak-proof system where it's realistic in that the students would put the medication into the port just like they normally would. They can flush it with any medication. You don't have to worry about what type of solution you're using, whether it's glucose or normal saline. The glucose will not grow stuff because it's in the mannequin veins, because it's not running through them, it's running parallel to them. And you don't have to worry about salt crystallizing from normal saline solutions either. After we have it connected together, we attach it to the mannequin with Coban wrap. We just wrap it around the mannequin's arm. Now this would also be a really useful method to help make the realism of standardized patients safe for the standardized patient, because again, you wouldn't be sticking them with needles, and you could give them any solution, even incorrect ones, without it actually going into the person. So let me show you how it looks on one of our mannequins. Once again, we have our little friend James Story here. And we have our collection bag attached to the secondary tubing, so we'll just slide the clamp up towards the top of the tubing. Connected to the 6-inch extension tubing for the saline lock. Now you can run a primary IV there, you can put a push through, anything that you want to do. Typically I like to store the IV drainage bag underneath the patient's pillow so that it's out of sight, but make sure that it's not totally out of mind, because after 1,000 milliliters it gets kind of full. And I do kind of run the tubing underneath their gown so that it's kind of out of the way. And then you find an appropriate site where you would have inserted your needle, and then just take the Coban and wrap it around the patient's arm, covering up our, what we like to call our golden connectors, even though they're plastic. To us, they're like gold. And again, I will give you the website where you can acquire some of those very inexpensively. And that's how we like to avoid using our mannequin veins that are in their arms. We can avoid damaging the skin, making holes by inserting IVs. We can avoid the growth of mold or crystallizing salts all over the place, and also avoid leaks. Thanks so much, and I look forward to meeting some of you at the Sim Ghosts in Las Vegas. Have a good day.